of Baltimore, Maryland, is a minister, entrepreneur, author, playwright, actress, and poet, who began writing poetry as an outlet to cope with daily life and spiritual frustrations. Her favorite poem that ministers to so many, including those who are incarcerated, is entitled, "Quitting is not an option, I choose to win." Brenda's passion and concern for the youth of today motivated her to pen her first book in the series entitled The Adventures of Pete and Repeat, I Am You-Nique. She is the founder of her poetic art business, Frame Your World, and Ministry FEED Fellowship, which is an acronym for Fueling, Energizing, and Empowering for Demonstration. Brenda's motto in life and encouragement to others is, you are what you think, so always think the best of yourself. Brenda?
You're not ordinary.
No.
You were wonderfully designed. When the Heavenly Father created you, He had Himself in mind. No, you're not ordinary. There's no other you that we'll find. You were created in God's image, yet you're one of a kind. Pete got to thinking that he didn't want to be ordinary. He wanted to be extraordinary. He realized that he too was unique. Write something that is unique about you. That's one of the many instructions that you'll find in my book entitled The Adventures of Pete and Repeat, I Am You-Nique. God has done something tremendous. In the midst of this book and writing The Adventures of Pete and Repeat, this started off as being a back-to-school revival talk back in 2011. And little did I know at that time, that one little act of obedience would turn into what God says is going to be a series of books, along with a cartoon series, as well as other things. And that's what He was showing me, is just that act of obedience. He said, faithful over little, He'll make you ruler over much more.
Yeah.
Well, with the Adventures of Pete and Repeat, what that's really about is about associations. How many of you have heard about Pete and Repeat? How many of you have ever heard that joke before? Okay, Pete and Repeat were playing on a wall. Pete fell off. Who was left? Pete and Repeat were hanging from a tree. Pete fell out, so who was left? Pete and Repeat were cutting class. Oh, wait a minute, I said Pete and Repeat. You know, who's the best gentleman just talking about tardiness and truancy? I didn't say you, I said Pete and Repeat were cutting class. Pete got caught. So who was left?
Repeat.
Stay with me one more time. Now, I know all of you have heard this before. Pete and Repeat were crossing a bridge. But something changed this time. See, Pete thought about, he wasn't jumping off no bridge. I know you all heard, if your friend jumps off a bridge, or you gonna jump off a bridge. Pete really got to thinking, what kept happening to him every time he hung out with Repeat? And he made a decision. And that's what this book is about, is making decisions. And I felt, I've had people also ask me, Brenda, what's the age group for this book? And I tell them from 8 to 80. Because some of the things that are addressed in this book can address those who are as little as 8 years old, or who are still in this earth, making decisions about associations. It also talks about, okay, well, if you want to do something better, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Right. So the book also encourages to write 5 things that you plan to do better this year. So going back to the back-to-school revival, that's what God said, okay, God, you have me talking to young people. I've got to get their attention. They're going back to school. Well, how many of you want a better school year than the one you just had? Well, in order to do that, you have to do something different. Well, then I address the adults. How many of you want a better year than the one that you just had? How many of you want a better week than the one you just had? But what are you going to do different to make it better? Well, that's what happens. So I take you through that transition. And the book introduces young people to goal setting, to again journaling, to start making plans, things that they want to accomplish in life. I don't have any children biologically, but I do have 30 nieces and nephews. So Auntie Brenda is the one that they called on when somebody was acting up. Well, this book has also been dedicated to my nieces and nephews. As a matter of fact, the characters on the cover are based on pictures that I sent to my publisher for my nieces, for my nephews. And so the character of Pete is my nephew. I actually recorded the book as well. It's on a CD. He is the voice of Pete. So this is a family project as well. So as we go on in the other series, you'll see more and more. Pete has a little sister, Patrice. So it's going to continue to grow. But the book, it also addresses the situations that our young people deal with on a daily basis. Bullying. It talks about what bullies are. And basically what bullies are hurt people who hurt people. But it also shows them how to address or how to deal with those situations. But it also motivates and encourages the young individuals, because I've heard individuals talk about low self-esteem. Well, in the book, we started off with You-Nique, that I am unique. Well, with low self-esteem, it comes with learning to love yourself. So I talked about, it has my original poetry. One of the poems in here is, I love me. But then it also asks you to write 5 things that you love about yourself. So there's power in not just the spoken word, but the written word. See, God said, write the vision and make it plain. So the sooner we start the young people, because they know how to write everything else. Because what they do, all you ever see them doing is writing something else. But what are they writing about their lives? So the sooner we get them acclimated to doing that, the better off that they'll be. So it introduces them to writing 5 things that they love about themselves. And I can't tell you how many times I've asked young ladies, and teenagers, just tell me one thing you love about yourself. Tell me something. What's unique about you? What does unique mean? I hear this over and over again. So then we're back in the Pete and repeat situation. That instead of being the follower or the leader, there's continue to be the follower repeating the same result. But when we teach them, I love me, how to love themselves, and how to respect themselves, and how to respect one another, especially with dealing with social media, it addresses this situation as well. And also encourages them to know that they're not a female or male, any type of animal. But they were wonderfully and fearfully made in the image and likeness of God. So then it starts taking them to that transition of associating with individuals who celebrate them and not just tolerate them. Those who will encourage them and not hate on them. That's what Pete and Repeat is about. So in this particular aspect of Pete and Repeat, it makes that transition where instead of Pete continuing to be the follower, Pete becomes the leader. So as Pete became the leader, it didn't stop there. See, Pete didn't just kick his friend to the curb because they were buddies, they were boys. But Pete came to the realization that as long as he kept following and doing the same thing over and over again, he was really quitting on himself. And he wasn't going to quit on himself, and he was not going to quit on his friend. So what I want to leave you with is something that Pete shared with his best friend, and that is quitting is not an option. I choose to win. Quitting is not an option when you know what you were created to do. Even if your valley appears dark right now, remember, you're only passing through. With each and every move you make, you're a step closer than you were before to achieving your desired goal and unlocking destiny's door. Hurdle over life's speed bumps that are designed to slow you down. Don't let them remove your self-confidence or cause you to turn around. For the very thing you've been striving for may be within the next few feet, but you'll never know if you quit right now, claiming an untimely defeat. Purpose to make wise decisions, living more than just for today. And guard the words that you speak, because you will have what you say. And on your road to success, your course may be rearranged. The friends and family you started with most likely will also change. and focus on what really matters. Don't worry about the non-essential things. You don't have to accept everyone's opinion or the challenges they will bring. Pick and choose your battles. At times it's better not to stay and fight. It's unnecessary to continue to argue or try to prove that you were right. And don't see those past failures as something that you despise. Change your way of thinking and see them as God's blessings, but just in disguise. Okay, you've been hurt and disappointed, maybe even left in despair. But from these experiences, you've learned the lesson of next time, I'll be aware. But quitting is still not an option because others are still depending on you and you and you to complete your God-appointed assignment, the good work He told you to do. But there are also many other winners who have already crossed the finish line, waiting and they're cheering you on. So look forward, not behind. It's time to get up and brush yourself off and get back in the race. For this prize is not given to the swift, but to those who maintain their pace. And when you determine in your heart and in your mind to see it through to the very end, you'll realize quitting was never an option. Because in life, you must choose to win. I choose to win. I choose to win. Say it. I choose to win. Amen. And I want to say a great big God bless you to all of you mothers. My mother is here. She's one of the most biggest inspirations and supporters to me. My mom, and I've also quoted something in the book that my mother always taught me. And one of the things that she said is that nobody owes you anything. But you owe it to yourself to be the best that you can be. And I have lived by those words. Those words I may not have understood them, Mommy, when I was younger. Thank God for you. I understand now because that's what Pete and Repeat is about. Those words you imparted it to me to be able to share to somebody else. So the book is available over here at the table. It's available online at peteandrepeatadv.com and also Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. And just please keep me in your prayers because the other thing what God has said in reference to why it's such a push for me to do this is because I'm seeing what's going on in the media with the young people. He said that that's what the devil is using in this age. He's coming under the guidelines of innocence. And so you see these type of cartoons. There was a cartoon I saw last summer, and I'm going to leave you with this. And it was on a major network. It's 11:30 at night. To me, that's still prime time. And it was a pornographic cartoon. It was only 15 minutes. But it was under the guidelines of sexting. I don't know if how many of you know what sexting is. And it was extreme. I'm not going to tell you how explicit, but it was extremely explicit. And it was a cartoon. But the instruction God gave me, and I know He had me see it for this particular reason, He said, don't you complain about what I've given you the power, talent, and ability to bring about change. So He said, get that cartoon done. So again, I solicit your prayers with the things that God is moving forward. I applaud each and every one of you authors, each and every one of your stories, and I look forward to working with you again. God bless you.